Hello, Kentucky. Four-star Bryson Howard is passing through Lexington. Is the boom coming? Will Pope recruit one of the top-rated guys? Let's see what's new. Bryson Howard's visit to Lexington has all the makings of a defining moment in Kentucky basketball's recruiting. The four-star point guard, whose meteoric rise in the youth basketball circuit has caught the attention of some of the country's biggest powerhouses, is getting closer to BBN. At just 17 years old, Howard already demonstrates maturity and a style of play that seems tailor-made for the aggressive and dynamic system Mark Pope is building with the Wildcats. Howard's arrival in Lexington is, in itself, a significant victory for the program. The son of former NBA player Josh Howard, a name revered for his versatility and consistent performance in the professional league, Bryson grew up surrounded by the legacy of elite basketball. However, he didn't rely solely on his last name to gain a foothold in the competitive world of college recruiting. His journey is a story of resilience and evolution. Virtually unknown at the start of the spring, he emerged as one of the most promising prospects in the 2026 class after impressive performances on the Nike EYBL circuit and at the NBPA Top 100 camp. His averages of 15.8 points, 3.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 1.6 steals per game in camp demonstrate not only his scoring ability, but also his ability to impact the game in diverse ways, something coaches like Mark Pope deeply value. Kentucky appears to have strategically positioned itself in this race. The coaching staff's ties to Texas, where Howard grew up playing basketball, are a clear advantage. Alvin Brooks III and Mikhail McLean, two key figures on Pope's staff, have worked tirelessly to build a genuine connection with the young player and his family. This personalized approach has been a hallmark of Pope's recruiting since taking over the Wildcats, and it appears to be paying off with Howard. A recent visit by members of the coaching staff to Howard School in Frisco, Texas, prior to their trip to Lexington, reinforces the program's commitment to demonstrating genuine interest and attention to detail. Furthermore, Howard's playing style seems to fit perfectly with Kentucky's philosophy. During the Peach Jam, an event that brought together some of the best talent in the country, he was praised for his ability to organize the team, create space, and finish plays efficiently. His defensive performance, marked by a combination of positional intelligence, athleticism, and physical leverage, is even more noteworthy. As he himself noted at KSR+, the way they play at Kentucky is exactly how I play. They go after it, they play hard, and that's one of the main things I do. This synergy between player and program always bodes well in the recruiting process. However, Kentucky is not alone in this race. Duke and North Carolina, two historic college basketball giants, are also in the running for Howard. The young point guard's recent visits to these institutions' campuses demonstrate that he is carefully evaluating his options. But there is reason for optimism in Lexington. The Kentucky program, even after a few years of transition, remains a magnet for elite talent. The unique atmosphere at Rupp Arena, the fervent fan base, and the tradition of sending players to the NBA are powerful selling points that few programs can match. Furthermore, the rebuilding led by Mark Pope is beginning to bear fruit, and Howard may see Kentucky as the perfect opportunity to excel individually while helping restore the program's luster. Howard's official visit to Lexington is something special. Every detail, from the conversations with Pope and his staff to the on-campus experience, could influence his final decision. For Kentucky, securing Howard's commitment would be more than just adding a high-caliber player to the roster. It would be a clear signal that the program is back at the top of the college recruiting table. Let's go for Pope. The 2025 to 2026 season is already being viewed with high expectations, and for good reason. The squad assembled by Pope is, without exaggeration, one of the deepest and most talented in the country. And if that sounds like an echo of the great BBN eras, there's good reason for that. However, what makes this team fascinating goes beyond individual statistics or the names featured in the recruiting rankings. What truly stands out is the emerging chemistry between the players, something that was uniquely revealed when they were asked which skill they would like to steal from their teammates. This seemingly playful exercise turned out to be an intriguing window into the group's internal dynamics, and at the same time, highlighted the strengths each player brings to the team. Their answers offer a vivid portrait of what we can expect from this new version of the Wildcats. For example, Trent Noah and Cam Williams quickly established themselves as standouts in the shooting department. It's no wonder that Malachi Moreno, a sturdy 7-foot, 1 center, declared he'd love to incorporate Noah's three-point accuracy into his game. Imagine a player with Moreno's imposing physique and long-range shooting ability. He'd be practically unstoppable. This mutual admiration between the players not only reflects their respect for each other, but also indicates that the team is aware of its own shortcomings and willing to learn from those who master certain skills. Another interesting point is Jalen Lowe's speed, cited by several teammates as an enviable quality. Lowe's agility is a clear differentiator on this roster, and his presence could be crucial in creating quick transition opportunities, an aspect that, combined with Jaden Quainton's athleticism and Mo Diabate's physical strength, could transform Kentucky into a relentless machine on both defense and offense. Trent Noah's mention of Braden Hawthorne's build reveals another crucial factor: the importance of wingspan and defensive versatility in a sport where every inch counts. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of this exercise is the humility and self-criticism implicit in the players' choices. Brandon Garrison, recently named the team's most valuable player, openly acknowledged that he would like to improve his three-point shooting, borrowing Trent Noah's skill. This statement not only demonstrates self-awareness, but also reinforces Garrison's potential for growth. He already possesses the raw talent necessary to lead. Now, he appears to be working to fill the gaps that could prevent him from reaching the next level. The diversity of skills mentioned also highlights the depth of this roster. While Jasper Johnson admired Mo Diabate's direction on the decline, Reese Potter praised Jasper's skillful ball handling. Andrea Jelavic, for his part, wanted the characteristic hesitation of his brother Jasper, highlighting the uniqueness of each player on the team. This variety of styles and skills is precisely what allows Pope to implement the system he desires. Furthermore, there are moments of lightheartedness that humanize these athletes. Colin Chandler, known for his chess skills, received an unusual compliment from Jaden Quainton, who admitted to envying his prowess on the board. Walker Horn, with his own humor, simply chose Malachi Moreno's height, joking about the stark difference between his 7-foot, 10 height and his own. These small interactions help build team spirit, essential for any program aspiring to greater heights. All of this points to an undeniable truth. Kentucky basketball is well-positioned to return to the top. With a star-studded roster led by a visionary coach like Mark Pope and an environment that values both the individual and the collective, the Wildcats have all the tools necessary to reach the Final Four for the first time since 2015 and, who knows, even lift their 9th national title. Of course, the road won't be easy. College basketball continues to grow in competitiveness, and challenges will be constant. However, with such a talented and cohesive team, Kentucky seems to have found the right formula to maximize its potential through hard work and dedication. The promise that the Chambers Agreement would bring order to the chaotic nil landscape is crumbling with a speed that borders on irony. What was supposed to be the definitive solution to level the playing field and establish clear rules quickly turned out to be a bureaucratic tangle that schools and collectives have already found ways to circumvent. And in the midst of this, Kentucky finds itself in a delicate position, following the rules with discipline, but watching SEC rivals exploit loopholes and advance in a field where there is no referee to officiate. Nilgo, created with pomp and circumstance in partnership with Deloitte, was born to function as a clearinghouse that would validate agreements and ensure transparency. The logic was simple. Athletes would continue to profit from their name, image, and likeness, but within a regulated system that would eliminate shady practices and make contracts clearer. In practice, 3 months were enough to expose the flaws. The system's slowness has turned waiting into frustration, and frustration into abandonment. SEC collectives have already begun paying players without NIL-GO approval, often bypassing the platform entirely. Meanwhile, reports of tens of millions of dollars stuck in the process only reinforce the disbelief. Agents pressure, athletes question, and schools, those least willing to play fair, move on without looking back. The result? Exactly the scenario they were trying to avoid. Everyone operating their own way, without standardization, without restraints, and without real oversight. And this is where Kentucky finds itself cornered. Mitch Barnhart adopted a different strategy, praised even by his peers in the SEC. The transformation of UK athletics into an LLC and the centralization of NIL efforts within the JMI structure were seen as cutting-edge initiatives, aligned with what was envisioned as the future of governance in college sports. In other words, Kentucky bet on institutionalization as a way to prepare for a regulated environment. But that scenario never came to pass. While BBN watches its rivals operate with the freedom afforded by the lack of rules, Barnhart complies with protocols that, for now, appear to be a dead letter. Without a federal law to support the model and guarantee antitrust exemption, everything continues to depend on the goodwill of Congress. And let's face it, counting on legislative efficiency in Washington is almost like betting on the lottery. This matters because the SEC is ruthless. The league is already by far the most competitive in the country, and any discrepancy, no matter how small, could mean the difference between having an elite team or seeing talent migrate to rivals willing to operate outside the rules. If nothing changes, Kentucky risks being the good student who follows the rules in a classroom where cheating runs rampant and no one is punished. For now, the expansion of NIL-GO seems more like a rigid utopia than a practical solution. Barnhart is right to try to structure the future responsibly, but until Congress acts, the present takes its toll. And, right now, Kentucky plays against opponents who aren't shy about operating in the shadows, a dangerous contrast for those who pride themselves on being a showcase of integrity and tradition within college basketball. Leave your comments.